Welcome back to the swamp, my friends. Today we are taking another in-depth look at another rather unknown cryptid. I bet you guys will enjoy this one, as once again I am teaming up with my good friend, Timothy Duran. We once again came together to uncover some creepy information about some of our favorite cryptids. Today we found one that is not known to many outside of the hardcore community. And I bet you're gonna enjoy this one. So, without further ado, let's get right into this documentary. In this documentary, we will be exploring one of the less talked about cryptids native to Latin America. Unlike many of the carnivorous cryptids we have talked about in the past, this one is a rather bizarre but almost familiar form of cryptid. And, unlike other cryptids, it is believed that there are multiple species of this cryptid roaming around the world that share similar characteristics, but interact very differently with humans, depending on the species. Regardless of what legends you may have heard, speculation as the intent of this creature is as old as the legend itself. In this documentary, we will be exploring all of the key points related to this creature and uncovering the myths surrounding the creature. Sit back, grab a snack, and I hope you enjoy this video. Picture this for a moment. A hiker lost in the mountains of South America has no means by which to make it back home. He calls out for help, but there is no one there to help him. He stops, and out from the bushes comes a small, human-like creature. The creature gestures for that man to go down the path with it. The man follows it to the path and is led safely down the side of the mountain. The man is able to make the journey home and tells his local village of what he witnessed while up in the mountains. Most people dismissed his telling of this creature as a hoax, but those who were aware of what the man described believed him. Now, picture this. A similar being like the one that was previously mentioned is now dwelling within the walls of your home, silently waiting for you to fall asleep. Once you fall into a deep slumber, the same creature comes out from within the walls and pulls off the blanket covering your feet. Once uncovered, the creature begins to trim at your nails until, on accident, it cuts off the entire toe. Frantically, the creature works to stop the bleeding and retreats back into the wall with its newfound prize. These two stories are quite different, but have one thing in common. These are both common versions of stories that have been used to describe an elusive creature that has its roots in Iberian, Latin, and Filipino folklore, known to many as the Duende. Unlike many of the other creatures that you likely have heard of, the Duende is a bit more complicated when it comes to the backstories and the roots of where it became. The Duende, or TATA Duende as some might refer to it, is a creature that has many roots in legends and folklores in countries from Portugal to Philippines. The name TATA Duende comes from the Mayan word TATA, meaning old man or grandfather, and the Spanish word Duende, meaning dwarf or goblin. This creature is generally seen as an elf-like creature and tends to lurk in more Latin American nations. The Portuguese have described the Duende as a creature similar to that of a leprechaun and say that it whistles a song while walking to the forest and tries to lead children astray, causing them to get lost and not to remember their way back home. Alternatively, the Duende are seen sometimes as helpful creatures in Latin folklore. In countries like Belize, the people there speak of the Duende as being a helpful guide that aims to try and guide lost travelers home after getting lost in the forest. They refer to the Duende as the TATA Duende. However, further in the nation of Mexico and the American Southwest, the Duende is seen as a nefarious creature that lurks within the walls of homes, especially in the walls of the bedrooms of young children. They tend to try and trim the toenails of unkept children, but may sometimes remove a toe by mistake. The people of the Mexican state, Oaxaca, still hold a firm belief in this creature's existence. As for the legends of Filipino origin, they were categorized into two types of Duende, the being of good and evil, with their colors being white and black respectively. They are told to dwell in caves or unvisited parts of houses, and some people from the Philippines believe you become cursed if you step on one. With all of that said, let's dive a bit deeper into some of the speculation around the creature and get to the heart of the understanding of this cryptid. When things go bump in the night, the first instinct for most of us is to either fight what's in the dark, freeze, or run from it. Often enough, some people mistake the Duende in the night for some other cryptid. However, just because a cryptid may be out in the forest with you does not mean it's something of the more typically feared and loathed cryptids. As stated before, the Duende has roots in folklore spanning around the globe, with sightings on almost every continent except for Antarctica. The Spanish and Portuguese were instrumental in spreading the folklore of the Duende far and wide, but sightings have been made in countries and on continents that are largely out of the area of reach that the original telling of the legend was made. Some sightings have been reportedly made in both Eurasia and in Africa. To say that the Duende is a well-traveled cryptid would be an understatement. Some of the misunderstandings of the nature of the Duende come down to a misunderstanding of the nature of categorical biology itself. Allow me to explain a bit. Most biologists, and by extension cryptozoologists, will try to categorize different creatures into a category known as a binomial nomenclature. This basically means that every species on Earth has been categorized and labeled as a species, has a two-part name consisting of the genus the species belongs to and the species name itself. This was a system that was developed by a Swedish botanist and zoologist named Carl Linnaeus, otherwise known as the father of taxonomy. All of this is important in understanding the nature of the Duende, as sightings and speculation as to the nature of the Duende vary wildly depending on what part of the world you are hearing about this cryptid. Much like other animals and creatures, there are likely different species of the Duende that exist around the world that all share different characteristics and behaviors that differentiate them from other species of Duende. Duende is much like the term reptile, in that it categorizes a bunch of cryptids together into one group. But in regular scientific research, most researchers won't use the common categorization for species like the term reptile, as it does not categorize all of the animals that fall under the same family tree. Birds are considered part of that same family tree, but are not considered reptiles. Much in the same way, we cannot fully consider a Duende to be truly cryptids, as some cryptozoologists have tried to lump in animals such as the black-headed spider monkey, even though the measurements in height not matching up with the average species of a spider monkey. This speculation is common in cryptozoology and in regular biology, where scientists will speculate over physical characteristics and behaviors for decades in regard to where they fall in the tree of life. The reason all of this is important to consider is because the stories of the Duende vary so much depending on the region of the world that you're in, and many people may not actually be dealing with the same kind of creature, and may in fact be dealing with different species of cryptids. For example, some people have described the TATA Duende as a small man with a lot of hair and a hat. There have been claims of it being found alongside a child. The creature lacked thumbs and its voice entranced the child up until the call of his mother broke the trance. Other experiences, such as the uncle of a native having been entranced by another Duende's voice while out in the wilderness, are also out there. It is said that this creature was a shape-shifting, supernatural being that could be summoned by a Mayan shaman through prayers and incense. It was reported that the creature was hairy and was not a spirit and had been adorning a golden Mexican mariachi hat, according to this version of the tale. Other tales about the TATA Duende, like the one from Belize, describes that the Duende has a red hat and was wearing animal skins for clothing. It was told a Duende would become very angry if people were to shoot and kill birds for no reason. Duende in this version of the legend transforms into a red clay when they feel tired and will transform back into their creature form when awake. So it is advised not to take any clay figures you find in the bushes of Belize, as any Mayan figure you could find may not actually be an artifact and may in fact be a Duende. According to this version of the legend, if a Duende caught you in the bush, it would entrance you and take you back to its dwelling. The only way to make sure you leave unharmed in this version of the legend is to hide your thumb within the palm of your hand, so as to imitate and look of a hand of a Duende in order to trick it. Some have tried to make the hand symbol of the Christian cross to ward off the Duende, but in Belizean folklore, Duende are not evil creatures and will only attack when provoked by the deaths of animals or by mischief like annoying whistles in the bushes. In folklore, the American Southwest tales of Duende are quite a bit different. Tales from this part of the world vary from somewhat strange to downright creepy and rather unbelievable, to be frank. People from this part of the world claim that Duende will watch young children play outside sports and will scurry away when spotted. Some people, more incredibly so, claim that Duende in the region will attempt to barter with young mothers for their unwanted babies so that they may eat the babies. These claims are a bit harder to believe than some of the others. Some of these claims are more credible than others, but it is most certain that with all these sightings, there are likely to be something out there. So, what could the Duende possibly be? It might be easier to explain what the Duende is not rather than what it is. The Duende is most certainly not a spirit or anything of that nature. It is most likely that this creature is highly exaggerated in its power and in its intent. More likely than not, this creature is a tale that has been exaggerated greatly by Spanish and Portuguese conquistadors from the olden days with the roots in real-life creatures like monkeys. The legend did not exist mostly outside of the circles that the Spanish and Portuguese occupied, so the origin is most likely that of Iberian in origin, some with roots in Latin and African folklore that was mixed in for effect. This creature is most likely not a leprechaun, and it's most likely not a form of Bigfoot, Sasquatch, or Chupacabra. The Duende is most likely a creature all of its own, for some reason has remained elusive enough to cryptozoologists that research on them has been slim outside of what somewhat credible reports we have in this documentary. The fascination of humans is known to put people in an almost trance-like state, so the reports of people going missing for long times after seeing a Duende may be just that, a prolonged state of fascination. In truth, no one really knows what a Duende is, or whether or not the legend has been extended to already identified creatures like the howler monkey or spider monkey. But one thing is for certain, as long as there are people that are willing to explore the unknown parts of the world, there will likely still be reports of Duende. So, the next time you are offered by that one eccentric friend to help them in the forest, just make sure your toes are clean, and that you try not to step on the toes of any Duendes that may be there, both metaphorically and literally. Thanks for watching this documentary. If you enjoyed it, please hit that like button as it helps me out a ton. Duendes are some seriously interesting creatures. There's so many varying details and stories about them. I've been reading stories about them for nearly 3 years now, and I thought it was about time we did somewhat of a documentary on it. It's really hard to do in-depth documentaries like we do usually on certain creatures, and this was one of them. But my good friend, Timothy Duran, really came through and helped me out a ton. He helped me research and he helped me write this. So to show some appreciation, please check out his link, which you can find in the top of the description, and check out some of his horror writings. He makes a lot of crazy and super interesting stuff, so I think you'll like it. If you guys are new to the channel, be sure to join us in the swamp. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications to never miss a new video. I upload them almost every single day on all things natural and supernatural. If you have a story or a video suggestion, be sure to comment them down below or send them to swampdweller.net, as that is a great place to get your story read. I'll see you guys soon with another creepy video.